Wishing you could get a lawyer's perspective on buying or selling a business without incurring legal fees? Then you should seriously consider Joel Ankney's book, Here's the Deal: Everything You Wish a Lawyer Would Tell You About Buying a Small Business. This guidebook identifies and suggests resolutions to legal issues arising during the acquisition process. It can even help you work more efficiently with your attorney, which ultimately can reduce legal fees. Joel was a guest on the M&A Unplugged, episode 47, and he shared some tremendous tidbits from this book and other things that buyers and sellers really need to think about in the transaction process. Joel's an outstanding attorney and had some great insights. If you'd like to get a hold of Here's the Deal: Everything You Wish a Lawyer Would Tell You About Buying a Small Business, it can be purchased on Amazon. Learn more about Joel and his law practice by visiting his website at 𝐸LANKNEY.com. That's JOLANKNEY.com.
Looking to buy, sell, or grow your business to position it for a sale? As the owner and managing partner of Sun Acquisitions, Dominic Rinaldi has personally been involved in over 300 M&A transactions. He has seen and done it all, consulting with large and small businesses across a broad range of industries. On M&A Unplugged, he'll interview buyers, sellers, and their advisors about their experiences scaling, selling, and acquiring businesses. On every episode, you will get key learnings, but most importantly, you will be better prepared for your own acquisition or sale. This is M&A Unplugged with your host, Dominic Rinaldi.
When I work with clients on helping them prepare for an exit, I take a three-pronged approach: personal readiness, business readiness, and emotional readiness. Personal readiness is the first area of focus as the remaining work flows from an owner's personal situation. A significant component of personal readiness is understanding what your number is, which is to say, how much do you need to fund your post-business endeavors, whether that's operating another business, retirement, philanthropic endeavors, or whatever you choose. Knowing your number is critical to all the other decisions that will follow. To help us understand how to approach developing your number is Bill Douglas of the Newman Douglas Wealth Management team of Merrill Lynch. Bill has 30 years of experience in the capital and financial service markets and has built his practice helping individuals, families, and businesses navigate their financial goals, including planning for the sale of their business. Bill, welcome to the M&A Unplugged podcast.
Thank you, Dominic. Thanks for having me, and very nice intro. As you said, I'm part of a team at Merrill Lynch, the Newman Douglas team. We're out of Lake Forest, Illinois. We work with individuals and families and handle all things financial. And one of the big things that we handle is helping people come up with a desired retirement lifestyle. And that has everything to do with knowing your number.
Yeah. So, Bill, it's so interesting when we get calls, emails, or referrals to owners who are thinking about selling their business. We sort of take this three-pronged approach. And the first stop before we even talk to them about their business is, are you personally ready? And when I think when you and I reference what is your number, it's so much more than just a number on paper, right? It's your estate documents. It's so many things. But really understanding whether or not you could step away from your business and if you need your business for the sale is so critical. So maybe you could talk to us a little bit about what is your approach? What does your team approach business owners when they call you and say, I'm thinking about going to do the next thing, and you need to walk them through their number and their situation?
Sure. And I think you really nailed it with your three-pronged approach. It's personal for everybody, and retirement is different for everybody. Not everybody's going to retire and play golf and fish or do something like that. I mean, some people are going to partially retire. Some people never want to work again. So it's really coming to terms with what does retirement look like for you? And then from a financial standpoint, do you have enough to maintain your lifestyle from now through the end of your life? And again, it goes back to what are your expectations, and it's personal for everybody. Also, this is not something that is kind of set it and forget it, a static number where you say, okay, I need X amount of money each year. It's really a dynamic number that's going to change. So it's something that needs to be revisited at least annually, because people's goals change, things come up in people's lives that they need to make adjustment for. And I think it's really important that you have some trusted advisors that you work with that know you personally and can help you navigate all the changes that may come through retirement. Traditionally people would say, and people in my business would say, plan on spending, if you can afford to live off of 4% of your retirement assets, that's going to cover it. Things have changed. So that's not really an accurate description of what you're going to need. Some people say that you're going to spend 80% of what you spend before retirement in retirement. I don't find that to be the case. I think most people, when they first retire, spend at least what they were spending before or more. And that number drops as you get a little bit older. But then there's other things that come into play, healthcare needs, long-term care, things like that. So there's a lot of things that go into it, a lot of different factors, and a lot of things that need to be revisited throughout the course of retirement.
Bill, and when you say revisited, and I want to come back to the whole concept of the number and how you help people get to the number, but when you say revisited, what's your recommendation to folks? How often should they revisit that situation?
Well, I mentioned earlier, at least annually. I mean, that's just the minimum. That's the absolute minimum of doing a full review of your assets, your financial plan, and what you're doing with your advisor to make sure you're on track. Most of our clients we meet with semi-annually or quarterly, and we just make sure that there haven't been any big life changes or things that we need to know about where we need to update a plan.
Yeah, because life happens, right? All sorts of
Sure
things
does.
happen. So let's wind the wheels back here a little bit and talk about how you first sit down with clients to help them understand their number. What's the process that you follow to help them get there? At least that initial number.
Sure. So we're going to base it off of what they believe will be their desired retirement lifestyle. And that's based off of what they're spending now and what their lifestyle is like now. What are your expenses that you have that aren't going away? For example, do you have a mortgage? That's not going away. You're going to have to continue to pay that. What are your travel expenses on average per year? What are your household bills? So you got to have a baseline of what your absolute necessary expenses are. And then obviously there's going to be some fluctuating expenses along the way. We start with that. We do a deep dive into what their expenses have been, and that is a baseline for us to go forward. Is that going to be enough? A big part of our practice is financial planning, and a big component of our financial planning is what we call a wealth outlook. And we run this for all of our clients. What it is a dynamic financial model of your life. So we take a look at what people have now in retirement assets, non-retirement assets, everything. What they intend to keep saving, what they intend to spend. And then we put together a portfolio based on their risk tolerance, their wants, their needs, what they're comfortable with. And then we can project very conservatively what their desired retirement lifestyle will look like. And so that's a big basis of how we determine if they have enough now or if they don't.
Yeah. And if they're a business owner, how are you factoring in that asset into the whole equation?
So we are going to use that as a lump sum that is basically going to be handed over to them when they sell their business. So, for example, if someone's going to sell a business for $7 million, that's a lump sum that's going to be added to their net worth. And then we are going to absolutely factor in a asset allocation for that $7 million. Are we going to keep it all in cash? Are we going to put it in bonds in cash? Are we going to put it in stocks, bonds, and cash? And what's the allocation going to be? From that, we can determine what kind of income can come off of there, and if that's going to be sufficient to support them throughout the rest of their life. And listen, retirement, like I said before, is a lot different than it used to be. 50 years ago, or longer, I should say, when people retire, people usually worked till they were 67, 68 years old. They retired, they had a pension, or they had some Social Security, and their lifespan wasn't for them to live to 95 years of age. Now people are retiring a lot earlier, and they're going to live a lot longer. So there's a lot more that goes into the planning of this, along with inflation and rising healthcare expenses.
Yeah. Yeah. The healthcare is a big
Big one.
unknown, right?
It is. It is. And, a lot of people spend more early on in retirement on travel, going to spend time with family, doing things like that. But as they get older, that allocation shifts more towards healthcare expenses.
Yeah. And so I would imagine the conversation is very different if your client has enough money already invested wherever it's invested to retire. So the business is just gravy at that point. But if they
Mm-hmm.
need the business in order to have enough money, my experience has been most owners really don't have a really good sense of the market value of their business. So what are you doing with business owners when you know they're going to have a shortfall unless they have the proceeds from the business, to help them get a realistic picture and expectation of their business? Are they going to professional advisors more often than not, or are they putting a value on it? How's your approach with them on that issue?
Well, that's a good question. So, my expertise is financial planning and wealth management. My expertise is not putting a value on someone's business. So, we will absolutely encourage our clients, family business, small business owners to reach out to experts like you, attorneys and other people, advisors that can give them a more accurate value for their company. I don't want to say that I know the value of my clients' companies, because there's no way I can do that. But once we have a range or a number that makes sense, then we can put that into a plan or a financial model going forward to help them take a look at what their retirement would look like.
And do most clients heed that advice? Do they go to a third party and get a market valuation, or are they thumbnailing it based on what they hear is happening with other folks in their industry? What's your experience there? Because my experience is that most folks, when they come to us, have not done this work. They have a number in their head, and when we do the work, they're oftentimes shocked to find out that the number is significantly less than what they had thought or hoped.
I would say that's spot on. Most people believe, just like everybody believes their house is worth more than it actually is, most people believe that their businesses are worth more than they actually are.
Yeah.
And until you have experts come in and give you an actual number on that, or a price, then there's no real validity to it.
And at least with a house, you can look at the MLS. I mean, you could see what things sell for. With businesses, there is no sort of MLS that exists. So it's really critical to get that. And, like you, Bill, we tell business owners, go get a regular checkup. Maybe not every year, but at least every couple of years, get a check-in to see what's happened with the value of your business. Because even if it stays steady, market changes could cause the business to increase or decrease in value, even if it's doing, steady state over a 2 or 3 year period.
You nailed it there. Make plans and God laughs, right? There's a lot of businesses right now that are worth a fraction of what they were worth 6 months ago, just because of what we're going through, in the world right now.
Right.
So yeah, just like, go to the doctor and get checkups, same thing for your business, same thing for your financial plan.
Yeah. And Bill, we're focused here primarily on a number, and I think that's the right conversation, but it's so much more than a number, right? I mean, there are, estate documents to consider. Is your business going to transfer? Are you going to do an orderly transfer? Is it going to be sold to a third party? Will in order? Do you have trust documents? What's your approach with clients in regards to all of those other sort of documents that they need to pull together so they know that they're personally ready?
So we are one of our clients' trusted advisors. So we work very closely with the other advisors that are in their lives. So estate planning attorneys, people that are going to make sure their wills are in order, their trust documents are in order, whether they title their investments in an LLC. We also work with estate planning attorneys and CPAs, to see how taxes are going to be affected with the sale of a company. Is it going to be long term? Is it going to be short term? All kinds of things like that. Are they going to be able to avoid taxes? So we work very closely with our clients, other trusted advisors, CPAs, estate planning attorneys, and then anybody else they're working with through the sale of the company.
Well, you just hit on such a big issue. And when we talk to clients about this often, it's not, if you need the proceeds from your business in order to go do the next thing, and usually that's retirement, it's not so much how much you got paid for the business, but how much you keep in your pocket. And so doing that tax planning and asset preservation work is so critical. It's, one thing to be paid $10 million for your business. If you only walk away with half of that after fees and taxes,
Right.
well, that's not a happy day.
No, no, absolutely. And that's where working with people that are experts in the field is so critical. It really is. I'm not an expert on tax code. I can give a little bit of direction, but they need to work with someone who's an expert in the field. And so, again, we want to be one of the trusted advisors, work in tandem with the other advisors, and make sure that everything is in line for them to successfully navigate the sale and then subsequent retirement.
But you've probably seen, Bill, though, when they bring in the right advisors, some forethought to this, some planning, and those advisors could help them structure or restructure their business and the contemplated sale in such a way so that, they've really minimized their taxes, or in some cases even completely eliminated them, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whether it's having the sale disseminate through an LLC or another company or trust or generation skipping trust, there's all kinds of things that can be set up to at least maximize your take-home pay and minimize your taxes.
Yeah.
So
and if you
absolutely.
don't need the proceeds of the sale of the business, what a great way to be able to preserve those proceeds for yourself and for the next generation.
Totally. Absolutely.
So, Bill, you earlier on, you mentioned that, there's all these unknowns, right? So when people come to you and you sit down and you get to the point where you establish a number and now there's a line in the sand and you can move forward from there. When you did that work, do you, in your model, make some assumptions even without the client's direct input? Like, so that some percentage of people underestimate healthcare, or they underestimate, life events. And does your model sort of incorporate some of that in there so that it buffers, the more optimistic owners, especially as a business owner, and I'm one myself, I tend to err on the side of optimism, which can get you in trouble sometimes, right?
So yeah, there's some things that we put into our models that aren't the input from our clients. For example, if you're going to retire at age 60, your life expectancy is going to be 95. So that's 35 years in retirement. That's a really long time.
Yeah.
Something that a lot of people don't think about is inflation. All right, things are going to cost more 35 years from now. I mean, that's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that you have to factor in. So if your retirement lifestyle is retiring at $300,000 today after taxes, that's going to be at least $500,000 or $600,000 30 years from now. So that's something that we put into our models. We factor in inflation, and that's something we can make adjustments for. So right now, inflation is a little bit lower than historically, but at some point it will come back. We also take into account what taxes you're going to have to pay. So retirement accounts that you haven't paid taxes on, obviously they're going to be taxed at a much higher rate than any type of capital gains or anything like that. So we factor all that in and put that into our model, and it gives a more accurate, description instead of just saying, okay, I need $300,000 for the rest of my life each year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so what you're pointing out here really, Bill, is the complexity of, it's not just, a simple task of taking the amount of money you have and how many years you think you're going to live. I mean, this is a pretty complicated process, and folks really need to go see someone like you to, figure that out. And then just like they go to the doctor, annually, get the checkup, right?
You nailed it. I don't know why anybody would want to go through this on their own and not elicit the support of experts. Make it a team game. I want to be a part of someone's team. I'm on a team at Merrill Lynch, but I'm also on the team of all my clients. So, and that's working in tandem with their other trusted advisors, their estate attorneys, their CPAs, everyone together. And those are the best relationships, when you're all working as a team and have a common goal in mind.
Yeah. Bill, I'd like to switch over to a little bit on the psychology of all of this. So my experience with owners around selling their businesses is most don't plan. I think the statistics are that over 75% of people fail to really properly plan for for the exit of the business. And invariably they're leaving money on the table. They're not maximizing value. They probably have increased risk because of it. And it appears to me, in the psychologists that I've spoken to, there's just this psychological barrier that exists that, prevents owners from really planning for that. What do you experience in your side of the business with wealth management and helping people in this phase? Is there a psychological component? And what advice would you give to folks out there who are listening to help them get over the barrier of doing this really important work so they can get ahead of the curve?
Well, I'm not a psychologist, but I can speak to my experience with business owners and people that have sold their businesses. There is a barrier. Most people that are successful business owners, they know how to run their business. They know how to make money. They're really good at what they're doing. And because of that, they haven't had the time or the inclination to go become experts at financial planning or planning for the future or any of that stuff. So absolutely, they need to have serious conversations with people that are serious with them about what needs to be done and steps that need to be taken to prepare them for the sale of their business and what the next steps in their lives are going to look like, for sure.
Yeah, I find this whole aspect of selling a business and doing the personal readiness planning, the estate planning, and the mental blocks that a lot of folks have around this fascinating, because it's such critical work. Typically, an owner's business is their largest asset. Why not
Yes,
take the time to go plan for it and work with people like you and us and other advisors to really get ahead of the curve?
I agree. And it reminds me a little bit of C-suite executives that have very concentrated stock positions.
Hmm.
For example, we work with a lot of people from Abbott or AbbVie, and they are emotionally tied to the stock for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So even though that stock is going to be a big part of their retirement and their lifestyle, they have a real hard time letting go of it and actually selling any shares of it. And I think a lot of that will apply to small business owners also. They're so emotionally attached to these companies. It's hard for them to actually envision letting go.
Wow. Well, that's a great analogy. Never really thought about that, but that's an awesome analogy. I think that's spot on. And look, and this can come across as sounding self-serving for both of us, right? When we're, sitting here really urging people to plan, but I'm making it my life's mission, because when I know that 75% of owners fail to plan for their exit and they leave money on the table or they increase their risk and there's no reason for it, like I've got to believe I can help move the needle here and get people to really maximize their value. And I think the same opportunity exists for you.
Absolutely. And like you said, this is a little bit self-serving for us, but it's also a real value that we can add for people. We're experts at what we do. I'm not an expert at running a small business, but I am an expert in wealth planning and retirement planning. And you're an expert on helping them sell their business. And I think it's critical, and it's something that everybody should take advantage of.
Yeah. Well, Bill, this has been a really engaging conversation. I love this topic. I'm passionate about it. What parting thoughts would you have for folks if you were to put a bow on this, about, leave them with some last thoughts about, helping to get personally ready?
I would say that even if you're working with a financial advisor right now, it doesn't hurt to get another opinion. And I think that my team and myself in particular are very good at putting together a wealth outlook and a financial plan for the future. And it wouldn't hurt to get some just a second opinion on what that looks like for anybody that's not close to retiring or someone that is getting ready to sell a business. All it can do is help. And the same thing goes for just elicit the advice of experts that are experts in their field, and that's going to help.
Yeah, that's a common thread that comes up in a lot of our conversations is go get the experts. There's too much at risk typically when it comes to this. Well, Bill, it's been a real pleasure having you. If folks in the M&A Unplugged community wanted to reach out to you, how can they best get a hold of you?
Absolutely. You can always look us up on the web, the Newman Douglas team at Merrill Lynch. Just Google us, or you can reach out to me personally, William.Douglas, Douglass, 2 S's, @ml.com. And that'll have all my other contact information available there.
Great. Bill, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
So M&A Unplugged community, I just want to recap one thing that Bill brought up that I think is really critical. Your situation when it comes to your estate and your number and your planning is dynamic, just like the value of your business is dynamic. And it makes it so important to check in regularly with folks like Bill, who are real experts in this field, to make sure you really know what your numbers look like. Most of us who own real estate probably look all the time to see what's for sale in our neighborhoods and what the homes sold for. A business and your estate should be no different. You should be checking in on a regular basis. Don't just leave it because time will pass by or an event will occur in your life that you didn't plan for, and all of a sudden you're scrambling, and you never want to be in that situation because chances are you're coming out on the short end of the stick there. So hope you enjoyed today's conversation. All of the information will be available in the show notes. If you would like to learn more about the process of acquiring or selling a business, please visit our website at 𝐸𝐮acquisitions.com, or feel free to reach out to me at drinaldi@𝐸𝐮acquisitions.com. I look forward to seeing you again on the next episode of the M&A Unplugged podcast. And until then, please remember that scaling, acquiring, or selling a business takes time, preparation, and the proper knowledge.
Thank you for joining us today on M&A Unplugged. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and recommend it wherever you get your podcasts. If you want more great information on how to scale, acquire, or sell a business, please visit our website at 𝐸𝐮acquisitions.com.